God, that's hot. That's it's really hot. Okay. Is this thing on? Adam Driver would not be a good Mr. Fantastic, aka Reed Richards. First, let me explain why he wouldn't play a good Mr. Fantastic, and then I'll explain who I'd cast as the rest of the Fantastic Four. So, let's get started. We need to clear some things up right now. The context behind this video is I originally had an idea to start a series where I would pitch different shows and movies, and one of the first ideas was a Fantastic Four pitch idea for the movie, because it was a hot topic back when it was first announced, and this video has been an idea for months at this point. I have a thumbnail, I'll probably pop it up real quick. I had the title, I was gonna write a script, and then I didn't. I completely dropped the ball. It just wasn't as important to me anymore. I had a different list of priorities when it came to videos and to life, and so this video was instead turned from the beginning of a new series to just a discussion video. But either way, I think it'll be fine. I will explain to you who I'd cast. I'll explain to you why I wouldn't cast Adam Driver. Whoop. My bad. Okay, let's get started. Why is Adam Driver not a good Mr. Fantastic? There's a few reasons. One, he does not look like Mr. Fantastic. Alright, Mr. Fantastic, I think his looks is actually very important to his character. The reason is, he is not built. You know what I mean? Like, there's Captain America, there's Thor, there's Spider-Man. All of them got like six packs. They're sculptures basically. And then there's Mr. Fantastic. Yeah, most of his pictures probably has abs, or he's a little built, but at the end of the day, he stretches, right? He does not rely on strength. And I think another part of that is you don't want him to be this big presence, but instead, like, you want to focus on how he carries himself and how he speaks, right? If he's built, I think that could inadvertently take away from his dialect and from how he presents himself vocally, right? Second, his voice just doesn't match what a Reed Richards should probably sound like. And I don't mean like this as a diss, even though it could be taken like that. Adam Driver, if you're watching this, I love you as an actor. It's just that, like, he has this little, like, he has that kind of voice, and I just don't think that fits for Reed Richards. Reed Richards should have a very clear voice, and not like a super deep one either. I think he should be like middle of the pack, and it could be a little bit deeper, but like it's not Adam Driver, right? Before I keep digging myself in a hole, first of all, him in Marriage Story, his singing voice, mwah, I listen to that on repeat. I've fallen asleep to that song many times. Anyways, now that I'm less scared about my stance on this subject, let's continue. Again, like he is just the way he carries himself. He's just naturally a bigger guy. Like, he served in the military, correct? And he just doesn't match what Reed Richards should carry himself like. Plus, he's pretty tall, if I remember correctly. Let me search this up. Hey Siri, how tall is Adam Driver? He's 6'2". No, like, no. I'm sorry, but no. Like, he should not be standing shoulder to shoulder with other superheroes physically. Mentally, he's way better. Like, he's one of the smartest people in the universe. Sometimes the smartest, sometimes the second. Depends on what comic you're reading. Okay, I have to admit something. The way I phrased the whole thing about Mr. Fantastic shouldn't be tall, shouldn't be built. In actuality, in the comics, he's like 6'1", and I think I just got a little too deep in my opinion, where I kind of forgot, like, Mr. Fantastic's tall. However, I'm going to still stand by my point about he should probably look shorter in live action, but I want to make aware that at this point, that is my preference, all right? Mr. Fantastic can't be tall. Maybe still look for someone around 6'1", because 6'3" is kind of like, doesn't really sound like too big of a difference, but kind of is, you know what I mean? But I would say try to adjust accordingly to the heroes you have in the MCU that you are going to have Mr. Fantastic stand by. Try to keep him around the same height. So again, I still kind of stand by about not casting Adam Driver and who I'm going to cast, or who I would cast. So I just wanted to point that out there before y'all call me out. So, yes, at this point, opinionated about his height and stuff, but still stand by it. All right. Here's a really important thing. Adam Driver has already been part of a franchise. He's been part of Star Wars. He was Kylo Ren. That's one of the biggest, probably like fan favorite characters, if I remember correctly. I don't know. It kind of wish-washed, I think. Basically, he's recognizable from another area of work under Disney's umbrella, right? And it's very similar to superheroes. Like, Star Wars is what, sci-fi western, but a lot of people just call it a superhero movie. Let's be honest. That is arguably his most iconic role. And in my opinion, you do not want a superhero, and definitely what's going to become one of your mainline superheroes, to be recognizable, super recognizable from a different story entirely. Does it make sense? People are not going to see him as Reed Richards. They're going to see him as Kylo Ren. And that is just unfortunately gonna take away from his character. In no means am I saying he could not act the part. I believe he could act the role of Reed Richards. And let me explain a little bit about Reed Richards. Reed Richards isn't always a good guy. He's very ignorant, he's very smart, and he will do whatever he can in trying to pursue the safety of the human race, of the world, right? And that's why there's a lot of stories of him being a bad guy. Sometimes he just takes it too far, and sometimes it's not even him being a bad guy, but he just puts others to the side. He puts his needs before others, right? He could be selfish. He's selfish. He's conceited, right? He's ignorant. Like, again, he could be a good guy. He is at times like a moral compass, but those negative aspects of the character are character defining. I think after watching Marriage Story, Adam Driver could do that. And it might be weird that I'm mentioning Marriage Story, but I just think it's a very good example of how a character can be pursuing something good, but isn't necessarily a good person all the time. He has flaws, all right? He has flaws. He's not perfect, okay? And that's Reed Richards, in my opinion. That's how I perceive him. So to sum that part up, Adam Driver couldn't play Reed Richards the best. Again, if you cast him, it is what it is. He'll do fine. You know what I mean? But it will have some drawbacks. So if you're saying, oh, well then who would you cast? Let me tell you, bro. You guys aren't gonna believe this. I think it's perfect casting. I know there's probably other ones, but this is my perfect casting. Penn Badgley. That's all I need to say. Let's compare him to Adam Driver so I can show you where I'm thinking with this. He is not as tall as Adam Driver. In fact, let me also check that. Hey Siri, how tall is Penn Badgley? Bro's 5'8". Alright, I'm taller than him. He is not a physical threat, which I think is better, right? He is also kind of like overcompensating with his smarts, right? Not because he's insecure, but just because he's that smart, too. He can play ignorant. Have you seen Joe from You? I think Joe Goldberg as a character is an audition for Reed Richards. The way Joe is so sometimes just ignorant and blindsided by his goals, where he doesn't see the moral discrepancies in his actions, that is Reed Richards to me. Again, he is a good guy, but he messes up as much or more than the rest of our superheroes. And I'm not saying that all of a sudden they gotta make Reed Richards a bad guy in the MCU. No, that's the complete opposite of what I'm saying. But what I am saying is he is one of the most flawed heroes. He's one of the most human heroes. His physical nature is not demanding. He can play ignorant. He can play soft. Joe is also like, sometimes you find yourself caring about Joe because of how good he could be to Paco and different characters. They share that, and I think it'd be relatively easy to switch into Reed Richards. I will admit though, I'm being kind of a hypocrite. Penn Badgley is very recognizable as Joe. However, I also know Joe isn't as big as we think it is. Like, it's on TikTok, it's around your immediate groups, but I also don't see a lot of people that recognize him as Joe. A lot of people don't care about the show, and a lot of people dropped off of the show, right? It's not as popular as social media would make you believe. And especially since it's a Netflix original, kinda, I think it is a limited enough audience that it would bring in that audience, like, oh, hey, it's the guy who played Joe, I'll go check it out. But also, he's also unknown enough to bring in people who just don't know him and they're more interested in the character rather than him. His voice, I think his voice is perfect. I guess this one is definitely the most like opinionated part of the argument. Like, again, maybe voice doesn't matter to you. I just think he's a lot more clear in his words, but like he has a deep voice, but it's not like it's more like, hello, you I can't do it. But you know what I mean? It's just calm. I don't know what to tell you. Like, Joe could read me a bedtime story. So I don't know. Those are just some light things I wanted to touch on. Yeah. So that's my Mr. Fantastic casting and why I wouldn't cast Adam Driver as Reed Richards. Of course, you may disagree. I just agree to disagree. Respectfully disagree. However, I love superheroes so much. I love Marvel so much that I am okay with whoever they cast. I will go watch the movie. I am just simply stating that I think Penn Badgley would be able to bring the character to life in the best way possible. So, like I said earlier, I did fan cast the rest of the Fantastic Four. So let me just read that off to you and explain why. Sue Storm, aka Invisible Woman, would be played by wait, hold on. I need to search up her interview again so I can figure out how they say your name. I'm so bad with names. Just give me a second.
Please welcome Sonequa Martin Green.
Sue Storm would be played by Sonequa Martin Green. I know her from The Walking Dead, my favorite show, always and forever, #1. I understand it has its flaws, but I don't care. Other people may know her from Star Trek Discovery, Space Jam: A New Legacy. I never watched that movie, so I have absolutely no idea who she plays, and I refuse to look it up. She was in Once Upon a Time? I don't know her discography that well, and my bad, but yeah. You may know her, is what I'm trying to say. But I am basing my fan cast of her off of The Walking Dead. Sue Storm brings Reed Richards down to earth. You can think of her as the moral compass, or she brings him down to earth within the relationship, right? Again, Reed Richards is not a bad person, and I think that kind of reflects with Sue Storm, but when he goes off the edge, you see it reflect in Sue Storm. He will ignore her wants, her necessities, her dreams, her desires, because he's doing his own thing. But Sue Storm is not just an extension of Reed. She's her own character. She's very strong. She's very commanding. Some people call her the leader of Fantastic Four. That's up for debate between you guys. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm scared. But I'm going to be honest, I know a lot less about Sue Storm. But I think Miss Green would do wonderful in the role. She's very demanding. She knows how to cry. She knows how to yell. I think her with Penn Badgley arguing would go crazy. But I also think them loving each other would go crazy as well. Oh, by the way, I just want to say, yes, I casted Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and The Thing all in like their mid to late 30s. They might be new heroes. Someone pitched a version of the movie where it all takes place in the past, but then they get stuck on the other world for like a few seconds or whatever, and then come out and it's present day. So they're like a team that actually, their origin happened in the past, but now they're with all the new heroes. Because if you did not know, the Fantastic Four are Marvel's first like superhero family. I believe they're the first superheroes. Don't quote me though. I can't remember. The first whatever. They're adults. If they're new to the superhero game, they're still not young. You know what I mean? I don't want another young team, especially when there's so much going on. I think we need some older presence. And I think Sue Storm, Reed Richards, and The Thing, they would be great role models whether they're new superheroes or not. So that's why I chose older actors. You know, I think they do fine. Okay, so Johnny Storm. Yeah, a lot of you guys aren't gonna like this one, but let me explain before you call for my head. Caleb McLaughlin, aka the kid in Stranger Things. What's the character's name? He was in Dora? Lucas. He plays Lucas. So Lucas from Stranger Things. I think he would. I don't care if I had to choose one person that could cast it. I genuinely might pick Penn Badgley. I don't know. Lucas here. He got it. I think he'd be. He's just perfect. He's a ladies' man. He's young. Also, if you didn't know, the Human Torch is like best friends with Spider-Man, and I think Caleb and what's his name, Tom, would just be such a fun duo. Like I just think they would have such a fun presence on camera. They're both young. They look around each other's age, and I just think the chemistry could be one of the things like you could market and one of the most fun things to watch in the MCU. I believe whoever you cast as Human Torch, you have to do a screen test with Tom. You just have to, with how close the characters are in the comics. Don't just hope for the best. You screen test them and you make sure they're right. If Caleb does not fit, then don't cast him. All right. But yeah, I know a lot of you guys want him as Miles Morales. Here's my argument though. Miles is younger than Peter by quite a bit. Okay. Peter is Miles's mentor. Miles is not a sidekick, but he's a mentee. All right. Caleb is like the same age or looks the same age as Tom. It would not work. It just looks like Tom's teaching another guy. Like say when Tom's finally teaching Miles Morales to whoever, he's probably going to be late 30s, right, character wise, or early 40s. you can't just have Caleb being like the same age. That doesn't make sense, and it's just weird. You're gonna have to wait, and then you're gonna have to cast a young man. Lucas he just does not fit that, and I'm sorry, but he should not be Miles Morales. I think he'd be perfect as Human Torch. My opinion. Next. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. Or not different, actually. I stole this one completely. Okay, so for the Thing casting, I completely stole it from Nando V Movies, because Nando V Movies does do a lot deeper dive, and I highly recommend going and watch his video. He goes into like the backgrounds of these characters, and one of the important things about the Thing is he's Jewish, and that has recently in the comics, or not recently, but like it over time has become a big part of his comics. Same thing with Moon Knight, is they are very recognizable within the Jewish community. They flaunt it. No, not flaunt it, that's a bad word, but they aren't afraid to show it. Make sense? So it's really important that you cast a Jewish actor if possible, right? And I don't know very many Jewish actors that would fit, so I completely stole this. I know the least amount about this guy, but I trust Nando V Movies. So the Thing would be played by Alden. I also need to search up his name. I did this in advance before I recorded, but then it just kind of left me, and I feel bad now because I'm going to keep this in the video. I don't care. The Thing would be played by Alden Ehrenreich. I know the least about this man, but off of what Nando V Movies said, again, go watch his video. He's Jewish. He's a great actor. And yeah, he's good looking, I guess. But yeah. That would be my fan cast for the Fantastic Four. I did not get around to casting Doctor Doom or the other villain, the main villain, probably Mole Man, or Think of a Story. Again, I completely dropped the ball on this, but I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Yeah, and if you agree, let me know. Hype me up in the comments. But if you disagree, please let me know who you would cast, if you would cast anyone else. If you don't care that much, just say you disagree. But if you have another idea of who would play any one of these characters, let me know. I think it'd be very fun. Or if you would like to, I don't know, make a fan fiction about my cast, go ahead. No. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah. Alright, that's it. I gotta go to bed. Oh wait, subscribe to Grand Average Films.
Subscribe to Grand Average Films.
Thank you guys so much.